800 people live inside this city. It has its own passport, its own laws, its own bank, and its own army. And it is one of the most famous religious places on earth. The world knows it as the heart of Christianity, the home of the Pope, the center of the Catholic Church. But there is another story here, a story written into the city itself, a story that connects the Vatican to Islam in ways most people never think about. This is Islam inside the Vatican. Stand in the middle of St. Peter's Square and look up. That tall stone obelisk, standing in the heart of the Vatican, has been there for centuries. It was carved in ancient Egypt, brought to Rome by Emperor Caligula, and later placed in its current position in 1586. Millions of people walk past it every year. Almost none of them know that this one object links the Vatican to a moment in history that changed the city forever. In the year 846 AD, Arab Muslim forces from North Africa sailed up the Tiber River. They reached the area just outside Rome and raided the old Basilica of St. Peter. This was not a conquest of Rome. It was not an occupation, but it sent shockwaves through the Christian world. And what happened after that would leave a mark on the Vatican for more than 1,000 years. Pope Leo IV responded to that raid with one of the most important building projects of the medieval age. He ordered the construction of a massive fortified wall around the area where St. Peter's Basilica stood. It was completed in 852 AD. History calls it the Leonine Wall. And this is where the story gets interesting. That wall, still standing today, became part of the reason the Vatican developed as a separate, protected space. It shaped the boundary of the Vatican. It helped define its identity. And it was built in response to Muslims. That is not speculation. That is history. The wall that helped define the Vatican was built after an Islamic raid. That is fact one. Now, let's go deeper. During the centuries when Europe was struggling through instability, Islamic civilization was in its golden age. In Baghdad, Cairo, Cordoba, and other great centers of learning, Muslim scholars were translating, preserving, and expanding the knowledge of the ancient world. Greek philosophy, Roman science, Persian mathematics, Indian astronomy, all of it was studied, refined, and passed forward through the Islamic world. Men like Ibn Sina, Al-Khwarizmi, and Ibn Rushd became giants of learning. Their work reached Europe through trade, translation, and contact across the Mediterranean. Latin scholars gave their names new forms. Avicenna, Averroes, algorithmy, the name that later gave us the word algorithm. This knowledge helped shape the universities, libraries, and intellectual life of Europe. And in time, it helped lay the groundwork for what became the Renaissance. The Vatican celebrates the Renaissance as one of the great turning points of Christian Europe. But some of the foundations beneath it were built in part through Muslim scholarship. That is fact too. Now, let's come to the present. Today, there are Muslims working inside Vatican City, not as tourists, not as visitors passing through for a day, as workers, staff, and part of the daily life of the city. The Vatican has gardeners, restorers, cleaners, postal workers, museum staff, technicians, and administrative employees. Some of those workers come from North Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Some of them are Muslim. There is no mosque inside Vatican City. There is no official Muslim prayer space. And still, they work there. They live their faith quietly. They pray when they can. They fast during Ramadan. They go about their lives inside one of the most famous religious places in the world. No drama, no headlines, just ordinary human life inside extraordinary walls. That is fact 3. But the most surprising part of this story may be what the Vatican itself has officially said about Islam. In 1965, the Second Vatican Council issued a document called Nostra Aetate. In that text, the Catholic Church spoke directly about Muslims and said, in essence, that Muslims are to be regarded with respect and that they worship the one God, the creator of heaven and earth. That was not a private opinion. That was an official statement from the Catholic Church. In 2001, Pope John Paul II became the first pope in history to enter a mosque, visiting the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus. He removed his shoes. He bowed his head. He prayed at the tomb of John the Baptist, a figure honored by both faiths. Then, in 2019, Pope Francis and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar signed a joint declaration calling for peace and rejecting violence done in God's name. Signed together, on record. That is fact 4. So what is the truth about Islam inside the Vatican? It is not a hidden mosque beneath the basilica. It is not a conspiracy. It is not a scandal. It is something far more interesting than that. The wall that helped shape the Vatican was built because of Islam. The knowledge that helped shape Europe's great intellectual awakening was carried by Muslim scholars. The people who help keep the Vatican running today include Muslims. And the official voice of the Church has openly spoken with respect about Islam. These two civilizations, Christianity and Islam, have been shaping each other for over 1,000 years. Not always peacefully, not without conflict, but always connected. That is the truth they never taught you. And that is the story of Islam inside the Vatican. Every week, Islam's light goes to the places the world overlooks and tells the full story of Islam where it was never expected to be found. If this story surprised you, share it with someone who thinks they already know. Subscribe. The next story is waiting.